Hello and welcome. In this video I will show urban cycling and using bicycle lanes and bicycle paths. And if you are not an adult, because laws and driver habits in different countries and cities differ, please watch this video with a responsible adult in case of any of my advice doesn't work for your situation. So use it all with a grain of salt and use some basic common sense, and this is what works fine for me in my cities and most other places where I ride in urban areas. And I will try to point out a few classic problematic scenarios and similar. Here I am approaching an intersection and I will be turning into a bicycle path that is completely separate. Here I'm checking left and right to give way to any traffic, signaling turning to the left and turning to the left. And this is completely separate from the car lanes, and here the traffic light turns green, and as it does, the first thing I do is check over my shoulder for any cars, because cars hit people and not traffic lights, so just in case. Also I'm checking here left and right to see if there are any cyclists, and in case they decide not to give way, even though those coming from my left should. And here I'm approaching an intersection, checking over my shoulder and signaling left with my arm to turn left and merging into a traffic lane. And here you will see why it is important to have lights even during daytime when the sun is low, either in the morning or in the late afternoon. Here you can see the only thing that's really visible are the traffic lights light, and everything else is sort of merged and blended into each other. So it's good idea to have lights to be more visible when riding, even in daytime. Here you can see the sign is very blinding. This is a bicycle lane that differs from bicycle paths. It is drawn on car paths on the road, and it is always one way, while most bicycle lanes are two-way lanes unless it's directed differently by a traffic sign. And here is where I'm approaching some parked cars, so I'm moving a bit out of their way to have more time to react and better visibility, almost going into the car lane and not staying in my lane, just for precaution. It's not 100% according to the law, but I think it's a safe practice. And this is where I'm approaching an intersection, so I'll be turning out of the bicycle lane and onto a bicycle path that exists here. I'm slowing down, and here this is very common in my city for people with children and trailers like this to be in the middle of the bicycle path, and I'm stepping in front of them so that the child does not get in the way, and I don't have to worry about it running inside of my path or something like that. So I'm just in a position to move quickly as soon as the light turns green and let them worry about how they will go. So here I'm checking over my shoulder left and right before I step in. It's not visible here in the camera because it is mounted on my chest and not on my forehead, but that is the principle. And here the bicycle path ends on this side, so I will be turning here. I'm also looking all the way, always left and right. Here I don't even have the right of way. I would have had the right of way if I stepped off my bike and pushed it as a pedestrian, but when the cars don't turn over a bicycle lane crossing or path crossing, you do not have the right of way according to our traffic law. And here I'm always on my brakes, always careful for anyone jumping in. People don't pay too much attention, and here you will see a woman noticing me in the last second and moving back. It's interesting that women usually step back when they see you in the last second, while men usually jump forward and try to run out of your way. So that's something to have in mind in case you don't have any other options. I usually try to be able to stop in time if I cannot avoid someone, so I don't ride too quickly on these bicycle paths. It's safer for me to ride quickly on the road, but on bicycle paths I usually take it easy. Here is another example, but this time it's not in the middle of the bicycle path, so I have a place to stay. And here I'm checking over my shoulder before starting in. While that woman seemed very optimistic with that trailer right away jumping, here I'm turning left, signaling, and here we will see a part where there is no more pedestrian path because of this construction site, so I'm taking it slow, patient, and moving around. And here I'll be moving on. And here at the intersections where the bicycle path crosses the road, that's very dangerous, more dangerous than being on the road, so I have to slow down, check left and right to make sure there aren't any cars turning that haven't noticed me, and then I can move on. And this is relatively clear. I can ride at a bit greater speed, and you can see there's no bell on my bicycle. I find it better to be silent, and if the road is completely blocked, I just slow down or stop and politely ask people to let me pass, pedestrians. But I don't like using the bell because sometimes people react too late or too suddenly in strange ways, and I find it safer to be without a bicycle bell, even though it is, I think, required by our traffic law. But my bicycle doesn't have any bell, and I don't want it dangling or jingling on some bumps and similar, so I completely removed it. Here I'm signaling with my hand and turning right, just so that cars turning right know that I will not be crossing in their path. And here moving on, and another situation where the road crosses the bicycle path, and I'm checking left and right, which is not visible in the camera, just to be on the safe side and stop if some cars don't seem to be slowing down to let me pass, to give me the right of way. Here I do have the right of way. And here I am approaching an intersection with a traffic light. There are it's relatively clear here, the situation, so I don't have to ride too slowly. But again, even though I have a green light, I'm checking here left and right to make sure that it is safe for me to pass, just in case. You can never be too. And here this is a risky overtake that I did, because pedestrians jump between these cars. Here on the left, see the woman, she decided to stop, but they don't always do that. So this was not the smartest thing that I did. I didn't notice her in time, or I would have probably stopped just in case, slowed down. When I noticed her, she already noticed me and stopped. And here are some pedestrians not paying attention, and I'm just taking it slowly and moving between them, avoiding them. And here we are starting, and I did another stupid thing here. This cyclist in front of me is on their phone and they want to turn left. They didn't signal it, but I should have seen it coming, and they almost hit me, and they would have fallen down hitting the rear side of my bike, so I sort of put them in danger, and it was a very silly thing to do, even though it looked a lot less dangerous in this video probably, but it was a very unexperienced thing to do. Here, this is the part where the bicycle path stops, and I'm checking over my shoulder, it's not visible in the camera, and merging into the traffic, and all that I showed in the video about cycling in traffic goes here. So I'm staying away from the door zone, checking inside whether there's someone in the car, and the car behind me, the lorry coming, the van coming, is not going at a full speed, so I was not at risk here. And this is a car driver talking on their phone. I'm checking over and around them. I can see better on a bicycle than this camera shows, to make sure it's safe to cross that intersection. There's nobody coming from the opposite direction or similar. And this is a part where the pedestrian path is completely blocked. This is beautiful construction and I'm slowing down and making sure that everyone is safe, so I can then move on. Here I'm moving out of the bat cave and this is where I stop and look left and right to make sure there are no cars or anyone else coming. It's not visible in the camera, but I am looking left and right, and then moving on and going to the nearest bicycle path. Here I'm checking left and right for both cyclists and cars and merging into the bicycle path, and I'll be signaling turn right here on the intersection and wait for the traffic light to turn green and then move on. Okay, the light turns green. Again, I'm making sure that the driver in the white car can see me and that they have stopped. And now I'm moving on along the bicycle path. Here I cannot go at a very great speed. 35 kilometers per hour is the speed limit, but I don't think it's safe. My bicycle has very good brakes, surprisingly good, but still I don't think that anything faster than this is safe because pedestrians often jump without looking, and this is a common scenario. I'm checking over my shoulder to make sure that I can do this safely. There's no one coming from behind to overtake me, and here I'm waiting for a good opportunity for these people to notice me so that I can go past safely and moving on. Here on the right hand side you will see a man coming to the bicycle path. I'm checking over my shoulder and moving to the middle long before they approach the bicycle path because I was never sure what they would do, whether they will be looking or not. And here I am working without any bicycle bells and I have no problems. Life is better that way. That is how I roll. So just taking it easy and patiently and with my fingers always on the brakes, ready to stop. These cars are beautifully parked, but the police doesn't seem to pay any attention, so neither do I. Just make sure to stay out of the door zone of these cars. And here in a minute you will see a roadblock. I have already checked over my shoulder to make sure it's safe to do a maneuver. I'm going out of the bicycle path and then back in. Another similar situation, checking over my shoulder, it's clear, but there's a pedestrian coming in on the pedestrian path, so it is not very nice of me to run into them. That is why I've decided to slow down and wait for the pedestrian to pass, or for these people to do this. They noticed me and moved out of the way, so I just thanked them and moved on. Some more beautifully parked cars, and as I'm approaching an intersection. This is another beautiful example of a brilliantly parked car. I had to to keep this in the video, so taking it nice and slow and making sure everyone is safe, waiting on the traffic light. And this part of the road is where there's no one in a position to jump in front of me, no cars, no pedestrians nearby, so I can ride a little bit faster, at least for a short while. And this bicycle path is relatively new, so it looks still nice, good pavement. And as I'm approaching an intersection, I'm slowing down, and here I'm looking for the traffic left and right on this part, even though I have the right of way. And here I'll be signaling and turning left across the bicycle path. There's a green light, and here it ends. Where do I stop? What do I do? I decided that this is a good idea to stop here and wait for the green light. Hopefully any cars turning right will not run into those cones, traffic cones. And here I'm signaling with my hand to turn left and merging into the car lane and some more beautifully parked cars. I can't get enough of those. This I wanted to do an overtake, and I saw a child running, and I wanted to wait to see what the child will do, and after it's safe now I can overtake. This is just for fun, some night riding, if anyone is still awake, trying to see how this GoPro 7 camera does in the night recording, and it makes the light look a lot dimmer than it is in real life. This front light is a lot better, so I assume that this camera is not very useful for recording stuff during the night time, and only when there is some external light can I see a normal picture in the camera. So it doesn't do justice to this bicycle's front light, this camera, but I wanted to see how it fares and whether I can rely on it to do any nighttime recording or not. And it appears that it is far from a very good choice for night recording, and that is a short test ride and at the end of the video. So that is the whole video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you find this video at least informative, if not helpful, and I will see you in some other video. Again, thank you. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe as always. And that's it. That's all I have for you today. Cheers.